Hey, and welcome back to the Sex Talk. Today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about codependent relationships.
The Sex Talk.
So codependent relationships, I feel like we're all sort of susceptible to them. We're all capable of doing them, particularly women. I know that's a little bit gendered, but unfortunately it is sort of how women are socialized in our culture and our society, to be the caregivers, to do the emotional labor, to care about people. Sort of like before they have an opportunity to care about themselves. And that is, a lot of that is tied into codependent relationships. And I'm not saying that only women do it, men do it. People of all genders can be codependent. And it's sort of revered in our society. Like, they allow it. They tell us it's okay. It's, and it's really hard. So this is a relationship right here, two people coming together. Codependence happens when this starts to happen, and you sort of forget where you end and where the other person begins. My couples therapist kind of described, like, we're all crumpled up together, and it's like undoing that crumpling can be hard work. But I think it's important, because I think that I know I'm guilty of it. I know my clients are guilty of it. I know that it happens in the therapeutic relationship sometimes. So it's important for me as a therapist to get outside help or supervision around it, peer support around it. I personally, I am a therapist, I have a small caseload. I don't do it full time because I do other things. YouTube channel. But I also have a coach, I have a therapist, and I have a couples therapist. So I'm constantly seeking outside support, because not just for codependence, but for so many other things that we're trying to help our clients with. But we're also human. So I want to talk a little bit about codependent behavior and what it looks like and how to undo it. So some very typical symptoms of codependent behavior I will describe. One is people pleasing. I did another video on people pleasing. I'll link to it. And it's very basic. We sort of think about what the other person wants, and we do that thing. That's one way of people pleasing. Another way of people pleasing is not speaking up for what we want. And if someone says, hey, I want to do this, and that's kind of not the thing that we wanted, but we're willing to do it, maybe for the relationship or to keep the peace, that's a form of people pleasing. And other forms of people pleasing are basically like just not saying anything at all, not standing up for what you want or need, trying to assume or read what the other person's going to want first. So people pleasing is a one example of codependent behavior. Another example is taking care of people, in like fixing behavior, essentially I'm talking about like people pleasing, like, that we know what that person wants, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it for them. In addiction model, they talk a lot about codependence and what does that look like in an addiction scenario. Let's say your partner has an addiction, or, I'm not a huge addiction person, but let's say they struggle with alcohol, or they struggle with using a lot of illicit substances, and it's affecting your relationship. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with illicit substances or alcohol, but it's affecting your relationship. And how is it affecting your relationship? Well, you're trying to now overcompensate for their alcohol, overcompensate for their drinking, for their drug use. And in so doing, you're taking care of them and not taking care of yourself. some examples of codependent behavior when you're in a relationship with somebody that's using or abusing is covering up for them. You couldn't go to the show tonight because they came home drunk, and so you make an excuse. Instead of just showing up yourself, where's your partner? Oh, my partner came home drunk and I couldn't, I decided to come anyway. Like, when you hide anything that is not about you, that's about them, you're covering up for their behavior, which is allowing that behavior to continue. Then you become the codependent. So those are examples of codependent behavior. We basically take care of others because we're afraid of what would happen if we didn't. So codependence is rooted 100% in fear. It's rooted in trauma. And so we go to these extreme lengths to do the things that prevent us from growing and prevent our partners from growing. So here's the tricky thing about growth. You're thinking, well, if I tell on my partner, or if I do the thing that's going to make my partner angry, or if I do the thing that's going to make my partner not happy, we're going to break up. So first of all, there's this like absolutist thinking, like, I have to do this thing to keep my partner happy so that we don't break up. Which is like an extreme, first of all. Second of all, you're not allowing for growth, because what if you didn't break up? What if you going to the show, even though your partner came home drunk and couldn't join you, made your partner so embarrassed that you went and you told all your friends, like, yeah, I came without him because he showed up drunk, and then caused him to actually do some self-reflection instead of you breaking up? Or maybe you do break up and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I did the thing that caused us to break up, but now you're not covering for them anymore. So yeah, when we do the thing that's scary, when we stop people pleasing, when we stop taking care of our partners, when we stop covering for our partners, basically, we do run the risk of breaking up. We do run the risk of things falling apart. We do run the risk of rupture. But without the rupture, change can't happen, right? So codependence really not only does you a disservice, it does your partner a disservice too. It creates an environment, a situation where no one gets the opportunity to change. So you rob yourself, you rob your partner, everybody stays stuck and stagnant. And oftentimes the behavior escalates and continues. So this was a very brief, short video about codependent behavior. I mostly focused on people pleasing and covering up for our partners, but there are a lot of other things that do connote sort of codependence, such as like your partner is consistently broke, refuses to get a job, and you want to do all these things, so you continuously end up paying for your partner, paying for her, so that you can do this thing. And what would happen if you chose not to pay for her? You'd have to do the thing alone without her, maybe. You know, these are examples of how we keep ourselves stuck in a codependent situation. We take care of the thing because we're taught in society, like, you show up for your partner. If your partner's broke, you show up for them and you support them, but not if it's preventing them from change. Not if it's preventing them from doing the thing that's going to help them and help your relationship and then in so doing help you also. So There's a lot of great books out there about codependence. Pia Melody Beattie. I think it's weird that they both have the name Melody in their name, but Pia Melody Beattie have both written great books on codependence, so check them out. You can just Google the word codependent on Google, and tons of articles will come up on Psychology Today and various other websites. So I really encourage you to check those out. And if you're in a relationship that's feeling stuck, look and see what kind of behaviors you're bringing to the table that could look like codependence, and start working on them. And that was it for the Sex Talk today. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.